Welcome to this event where I, your host, Daniel Barnes, Director of Product and Customer Marketing at Gatekeeper, will be joined by an incredible guest, Dollin from Police Bank, to discuss a range of topics from unified contract and third-party management, risk-first onboarding, contract and supplier visibility, and how Gatekeeper and Police Bank work together to ensure Bradley and team can effectively manage their contracts and third parties. I'm also going to give you an overall demo of Gatekeeper to show you how to unify contracts and third parties, their compliance, risks, and spend, so you can truly get on top of these to reduce risk and spend. We know that teams are currently overwhelmed with fragmented tools, processes, and approaches when managing contracts and third parties. This problem only worsens when you add regulatory and legislative pressures to the mix, such as APRA or even CPS 230, 234, things like that. These were the challenges I saw as a procurement and contract management practitioner before I brought, implemented, and used Gatekeeper to unify all of this, leading to seven-figure savings within 6 months of going live. My regulatory challenges were slightly different, being based in the UK, but the challenges they introduced have commonality in the APAC region. Alongside these challenges, we have the scariest and most rewarding challenge. For every third party your organization works with, we create a gateway to value, but also risk. We need to encourage value creation whilst aggressively reducing and ideally eliminating risk that can enter our organization through these third party relationships. So today, you'll come away from this event with the knowledge and insights to truly manage your contracts and third parties better than ever before. And now I'm incredibly delighted to welcome Bradley to the stage. Hey, Bradley, welcome to this event. And how are you today?
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for having me. And I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Dealing with the chaos back to school and everything like that that the world brings, but very good. Bradley, firstly, there was one question I really wanted to ask you, which is about your title, because your title was Procurement and Supplier Management Lead. You've quite unique to see the two paired together. I absolutely love it, by the way. I've worked in procurement teams and supplier management teams. Is there any sort of rationale for that merging of these two disciplines?
Police Bank is a small bank, so we don't have the resource to have like an independent procurement or vendor management teams. Hence the name merge, and obviously the spectrum of vendors that we deal with and the number of vendors that we deal with. We have capacity to look at both.
Fantastic. No, it's really, really encouraging to see, by the way. Like, I see it as an incredibly good sign. It shows that you're taking things very seriously. I love it. And I really want to start off with a question around risk-first onboarding. Can you talk about what changed when you started screening vendors and suppliers for risk before legal, IT, or other teams started to get involved in that process?
Yeah, look, to answer that in one word, it's foresight. Really, when you start screening, you can kind of see where the ball is heading and what you need to do preemptively to onboard that vendor, but before it gets to IT or legal or any other business unit that it needs to that they need to look at, and you can preemptively start asking the questions to the supplier. In preparation for those later reviews, like legal, like IT, and by the time it gets to IT or legal, they're hitting the ground running and they know what type of vendor they're dealing with, and it's valuable. Once you start having more of a proactive way of looking at things, it saves you a lot of time.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on that. The role I had before Gatekeeper, and I was still a practitioner, I was mainly focused on the contractual compliance and risk elements. But my supplier management team teed me up every single time. They teed up the InfoSec team, the risk team, our data protection officer. We dealt with a lot of data processing type agreements, and it just made that entire process work so much easier. I'm not going to lie, when I first joined that org, it was not in a good place. Like, it was a lot of work to get that. But like, I really like that word foresight that you used. I'm absolutely with you there. In terms of unified visibility, one of Gatekeeper's promises is bringing contract risk and spend data together in one sort of platform, one view, just to make it so much easier. It's kind of the main reason I actually brought Gatekeeper out of a whole range of different other tech vendors that I looked at. How has that helped you and Police Bank with maybe your approach to decision making with regards to your vendors, your suppliers, your risk approach, audits? I'm keeping it generally broad here. I'm just kind of interested to hear how that is helping you out.
Yeah, it's uniformed our vendor or our stance to vendor risk. Having everything as a central depository, like for your IT, your privacy checks, and everything that comes with it. It's streamlined. If you need to look at how a vendor takes their stance with privacy or their IT, it's like I just tell them go to Gatekeeper. It's all in there, all under this file. Like before, it was all siloed. You need to go to this team to request it and get an email back, and just a lot of friction involved. And Gatekeeper removed that. It's instead of that conversation of like, hey, you need to go to this team. It's like, no, it's in Gatekeeper. You can go get it yourself, essentially. Again, saves a lot of valuable time.
Yeah, the self-serve element is so. It's almost for me that was the greatest thing, because me and my team used to just deal with constant requests when we had the sort of setup was SharePoint and email. We would store everything in SharePoint. I say everything. We would always forget to take something out of our inbox to put a contract, a wonderful due diligence questionnaire spreadsheet that was terrible to work with. And the reality was that people didn't trust the information, so they came to people, which would be us. And you spend most of your time just dealing with fires instead of just saying, like you said, Bradley, go into Gatekeeper, go look at it, go find it yourself. It's all there, the history there. It's great. You mentioned time saved there.
Yeah.
How do you think about when you get those time savings? What does it let you go off and do that perhaps you weren't able to tackle beforehand?
Well, yeah, exactly. But in my time, it saves a request, dealing with a request, going in there, fetching the document or whatever was needed and giving it back. Instead, I can go away and work on an RFP document that an executive or senior leader is trying to get out to market, or deal with a vendor management side, like an escalation, or someone needs my help in regarding someone's service level agreements, or contractual piece, and so on and so on. It allows me to direct my time to things more important, essentially, and that's invaluable to have.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the invaluable nature of that is spot on. I think all of us that have worked in procurement, in supplier management, in vendor management, we've probably all got horror stories of where our time is just spent just doing work that we don't want to do. We know that we should be doing more valuable work, but it's like, how do we even clear the road to go and tackle that work? So I'm really glad to hear that. And Bradley, I want to move on to talk about your new SLA workflow. So you've rolled one out. Can you walk us through what this workflow looks like, the benefits you've received from it? I don't know anything about this yet, Bradley, so I'm incredibly excited just to nerd out with you about this.
No worries. It's an idea for managing vendor management more effectively. Again, you made a mention around spreadsheets, and like spreadsheets are great. I love them, but they can only go so far, and they create a lot of friction. Yeah. What I wanted to do when I took on this role was to take that vendor management to the next step, make it more streamlined, make it easier to decipher, and make a more informed decision with your vendor's performance. And the way that we utilized it was through the Gatekeeper Smart Forms. I worked with the managed tenant here at Gatekeeper, and she's been amazing. We work through it to make we work through it to ensure that the streamline aspect was put foremost without losing the substantiveness of the regulatory requirements involved. Because as you said right in the beginning of the introduction, CPS 230, especially in the ADI space, it's huge, massive regulatory change, and then add an extra layer to that. So it's like, okay, how do we become streamlined, more efficient, and while increasing our regulatory obligations? And it was quite a hurdle, but again, worked with the managed tenant, got the idea of smart forms, and what smart forms do in the context of the SLA cards is once a month the contract owner here at Police Bank will get a notification saying they're required to complete a smart form for that vendor, and it has 5 questions. All those questions are weighted within a 30, 30, 20, 15, and 5 metric. And the aim of that is to, obviously the questions have varying weightings and varying importance, but the important questions is to really ask, have they met SLAs and has there been any cyber breaches? Really 2 main pinnacle things in the ADI space that we really want to care about. And once that's submitted, once the contract owner has submitted that, it will produce a score, and that will be put up against a RAG status, red, amber, and green. And what we can do on a monthly basis is see how's the vendor doing. Are they tracking well? Have they not met their SLAs? Are they currently sitting on amber, or has something really gone wrong and sitting in the red? And what do we need to do to fix it? And that's kind of a SLA workflow, in a monthly workflow in a nutshell. It's to really make sure the business is proactive in this vendor management, asking these questions monthly, and say, hey, don't forget about your vendors. You need to make sure that they're producing what they say they're going to produce, when they're going to produce it, and how they're going to produce it. And obviously looking after other aspects such as privacy, which obviously affects the member or the customer, whatever your situation may be. And the beauty about it is, like, all these scores and answers are historically tracked. So if I wanted to go back 2 months ago and see how the answer was, I can go and view the entry and say, okay, for that month, that vendor has met their SLAs, and 2 months down the track they haven't. What's happened in between? You can have more of those in-depth discussions with your contract owner or even the vendor themselves, and bring about a mitigation plan or whatever situation you may be in. And it's in the context of CPS 230 it's great. CPS 230 from the vendor management perspective is just really asking the question of making sure you're effectively managing your vendors or your material service providers in this case. And if something does go wrong, how are you going to react to that? And that's obviously a different conversation. But these cards are one or a very important aspect of our vendor management here at Police Bank.
Yeah, that's it. I love, by the way, that you're using smart forms to score effectively the performance of every supplier. That is one capability that, when I was a Gatekeeper customer, that capability was not out. It's only come out in the last year. But being able to, like, to your point, being able to look on there's the histograph view, and you can see the dips, the peaks of all of that performance is incredibly eye-opening. And I think you made a couple of really good points. And the point that I really liked the most, Bradley, it was like, if I look 2 months ago and I saw that they were hitting their SLAs, they were just doing everything we need, and then suddenly a couple months down the line we've got a drop off. That lets me know that I can go and have that more strategic, that more that mitigative talk before hopefully before that problem gets way worse. And I think we've all seen our suppliers, our vendors, suddenly drop off a cliff in terms of vendor performance, and without the data to back it up, it becomes quite a challenge to actually call them out on it. It makes those sort of good faith conversations around performance management incredibly difficult. So that, honestly, I'm so happy that you're using that. And equally, Bradley, one thing I just really wanted to call out: we all know that a lot of procurement teams kind of get focused on that pre-signature phase. So thinking about sourcing, thinking about onboarding, they get to signature, they've negotiated savings, they've got, on paper everything's great, and then they have to go back to the cycle and do that for all the other suppliers that they're bringing on. So it's really good that you're also able to take the time to do some post-signature supplier management, contract management. I think that if more teams were working like you are, they would be in honestly a far better position with everything they're doing. So that's incredible to hear, Bradley. I'm so excited that you're doing that. And I really just wanted to ask a question because you mentioned the managed tenant, and this is where we give you some additional support to help you make tweaks and everything like that to how you're using Gatekeeper. How have you seen that sort of, that level of support work with your wider operation goals, your compliance goals? How's it helped you, maybe personally or even as the organization at Police Bank?
Yeah, of course. As I said, the managed tenant has been great, great addition. It's helped me get my ideas off paper into reality, essentially. Again,
Love that.
and that's how, yeah, and that's how my the SLAs came about. It's like I had an idea and the knowledge base was great. I was like, that's a good, okay, maybe something to do with smart forms, and having that conversation with the managed tenant really accentuates like that your idea. Like, okay, I know my path forward now. Now how you go about building it, and the managed tenant is like is there every step of the way, for your like working through your IDs, like implementing your IDs, and then kind of entering that care phase after the idea, the change management, or all the rest of it really. And that goes outside the SLA workflows, just anything, like a hiccup or something like a quick fix that I think that would be a quick win for the business, like anything, or even just something long term that you're looking to implement. Like I want to implement a whole new workflow or like anything. If you can think of it, in if you can think of it and have that conversation, you're gonna do well.
Yeah, I think that's a really great way to put it. It's like you've got these ideas, you put pen to paper on them, and sometimes you just need someone to bounce those ideas off who
Yes.
lives and breathes the technology element. Like you've got the subject matter expertise, clearly very articulate around the technology as well, but it can still, even for people like yourself, Bradley, provide a huge amount of ROI for you there. Bradley, I'm very conscious of your time here, and we are just nearing the end here. And I just want to ask you like one question, kind of in general here. What are like the wider impacts that you've seen beyond sort of that time saving and anything like that, using Gatekeeper, using the managed service, being able to pull in all of your different ideas, start to make it a reality, have your teams benefit from it? What's kind of the feedback internally? Is it well received? I imagine it is, that you're helping the organization kind of progress forward, reducing risk, accelerate the value. I'm really curious to hear that.
Yeah, of course. So there's two answers to that. First is the culture. So the culture around procurement and vendor management is uplifted. It's become more known. It's people are starting to ask them the right questions up front rather than waiting to the last minute, and that's great. So that's always helpful. And the second part to your question, which escapes me. Sorry, what was the second part to your question?
It's just really this, beyond the culture element improving.
Yes.
Has there been any other wider feedback? I mean, I think that's great, by the way, Bradley, because
yeah.
we've all let's be honest, we've all been in procurement teams where, I mean, I started new roles in procurement, and honestly, like my first engagement with stakeholders were effectively procurement is terrible, it slows us down, it's a blocker, and I'm like, please just give me a chance. This is my first week in. I'm in to help you, and like that's the feedback you're giving me right now. I appreciate you may have had some poor experiences here or elsewhere, and that sort of poor culture or poor view of procurement seems to just kind of carry with people wherever they go and land in organizations. So it's always a bad one to see. But like, any other good feedback from your wider team, your stakeholders?
Yes.
I think it's great to hear all of that.
Yes, sorry about that, and thank you for reminding me. Yeah, it's just the usability of the system is great, and again that feeds into the culture aspect. Like it's procurement and vendor management's come more user friendly to really put it in a nutshell.
Yeah, I love that.
You can have that conversation and have that. It's easier to handhold the business or a new employee or an executive that needs help, and they're like, okay, like we can sit down. This is what you need to do, and in my cases, you sit down for 30 minutes and show them, it's like, oh, it's not that bad, and that sigh of relief, saying, oh, okay, it's not. I'm not asking them to create a mountain. It's actually very simple. And then, and again, it goes on, and once they've know that, then they're trained, and I've trained them, or they know themselves what to do. Again, I can go about and do other things. So it's self reinforcing, and yeah, so via that self reinforcement, the culture gets better, and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's good all around.
Yeah, I love that, Bradley, and that concept of almost like guided procurement, guided buy-in, just being that trusted guide throughout the entire life cycle is incredible. Bradley, I just want to pause here and say thank you so much for hopping on to this event. It's been wonderful to hear your story. I really, as soon as I saw your title, I got excited to speak with you. By the way, like it sounds like such a minor point, but it just gives the right indication to everyone. So I just want to say thank you, Bradley, for joining us today.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you, Daniel, and thank you to Gatekeeper for having me. Much appreciated.
Appreciate it. And awesome. And for everyone else, we're going to actually dive into a demo of Gatekeeper right now. I'm going to show you some really cool stuff about the platform, maybe cover some of the bits that Bradley just mentioned as well, and just show you the art of the possible.